of democracy. And the news of the revolution arrives among the soldiers in the trenches. The funeral of the martyrs of the February Revolution was not a funeral, but a gigantic, triumphal march of the people. In this momentous upheaval which overthrew a despotism and democratized the government of an empire, only a few hundred men and women lost their lives. Over 1 million people from early morning to dark marched past the one big grave on Mars Field. The banners read, "From darkness to light, eternal memory to the heroes fallen for liberty. Long live the democratic republic." Nothing comparable to these crowds was ever before seen in Europe, said Buchanan, the British ambassador. Troops of happy exiles were returning from Siberia. Vera Zasulich, who shot the Tsar's chief of police Trepov in 1878, attends the funeral. Vera Figner, another world-famous revolutionary assassin, attends the funeral. The Duma was there, Rodzianko and Guchkov in their midst. Another individual prominent in the Duma, Paul Milyukov, professor of history. The Soviet of Workers and Soldiers deputies attended the funeral in a body. Skobelyev, a Menshevik or moderate socialist, a figure in the Soviet. Tsereteli, the Menshevik leader of the Soviet. A red militia was organized. Officers returned to their regiments and made speeches about liberty and democracy. The speaker is Purishkevich, head of the Tsarist Black Hundred, one of the slayers of Rasputin. Everybody who has an ideal inscribes it on a banner, hires a brass band, and demands that it be realized by the new government being born in the Tauride Palace. But the government born in the Tauride Palace turns out to be twins. In the right wing, a group of Duma members led by Paul Milyukov declare themselves a provisional government. In the left wing, the Soviet, under the presidency of the socialist Cheyidze, elects an executive committee which actually directs the revolution. The prime minister of the provisional government was the genial Prince Lvov, who above all things hated excitement. The foreign minister and real boss of the government was Paul Milyukov, historian. The chairman of the Soviet was also a kindly figurehead, the old eagle Cheyidze. Sometimes they called him Little Papa Cheyidze. The real boss of the Soviet was the Menshevik socialist Tsereteli. His close supporter Avksentiev, Kamenev, a mild Bolshevik, also supported him for a while, and Schreider, the new mayor of Petrograd. A group of the leaders of the February Revolution. The provisional government of landlords and capitalists wanted to restore order, defend private property, and win the war. The soldiers and workers in the Soviet wanted to stop the war, confiscate the landlords' estates, and have bread, peace, and liberty. A government demonstration, war to complete victory, A Soviet demonstration, land and liberty, long live the International. One man thought he could solve the problem by joining both governments. Alexander Kerensky, Vice President of the Soviet and Minister of Justice in Milyukov's cabinet. The famous old revolutionist Plekhanov, returning from exile in Switzerland, supported Kerensky. Plekhanov was the translator of Karl Marx, the founder of Russian socialism. Another old revolutionist, Burtsev, supported Kerensky. Viktor Chernov, leader of 1 million peasants, supported Kerensky. Kerensky became an idol of the masses. Ladies of leisure pelted him with flowers. Kerensky arrived at a meeting of the Soviet with a bouquet. His portraits were carried like sacred images in the streets, forward with our leader, Kerensky. He soon combined the liberals with the heads of the Soviet in a coalition government and called himself Minister-President Kerensky. But he could not combine land and liberty with war to complete victory, and he chose war to complete victory. The landlords and capitalists applauded. The heads of the Soviet consented. But the revolutionary workers and soldiers flocked to a new and more powerful leader, Lenin. Kerensky is a tool of the landlords and capitalists. Stop the war. Confiscate the land. Russia belongs to the workers and peasants. All power to the Soviets. Lenin's program of proletarian revolution against the Kerensky government was expounded to the masses on the socialist holiday May 1st, 1917 by the best orators of the Bolshevik Party. The first May Day ever celebrated by socialists with power. Kamenev is expounding, as yet without extreme conviction, Lenin's demand for a second revolution. But at that very moment, another great revolutionist was arriving from a small upstairs apartment in the Bronx, New York City, Leon Trotsky. Kerensky is a tool of the landlords and capitalists. Stop the war. Confiscate the land. Russia belongs to the workers and peasants. All power to the Soviets. Against these odds, Kerensky was trying to restore the morale of the army. Officers are learning to cheer the new standard for liberty and fatherland. Manufacturing morale. On June 18th, Kerensky ordered the army to renew the war against Germany. The women's battalion was enthusiastic. Mrs. Pankhurst, British suffragette touring Russia to promote the war spirit, was doubly enthusiastic. But the workers protested with riots in the streets. Battalions of workers armed and drilled by the Bolsheviks threatened the government like an army. Kerensky arrested and disarmed the workers' guard, jailed Trotsky, and declared Lenin, who went into hiding, a state criminal to be arrested on sight. The Tsarist generals availed themselves of the opportunity to prepare a counter-revolution. Their candidate for military dictator was the young General Kornilov. His colleague was the Cossack General Kalyedin, gloomy and austere patriot who shot himself 6 months later. He is discussing the plan with Rodyanko, president of the Duma. The Soviet mobilized its orators and rearmed the Workers' Guard, prepared both to argue and fight. Again, the many troops from the front marched on the capital, and again, when they got there, they joined the masses. Kerensky was implicated in the plot by the revolutionary adventurer Boris Savinkov, his contact man with Kornilov. The crowds that adored him before are now held back by soldiers and mounted police. Juggling with revolutionary power, he had completed